Robin Hood, that epic tale of stealing from the rich and giving to the poor. We've known these stories for so long, and there's so many great twists on that original tale, especially when it comes to comic books. Now, I know most of you are expecting me to be talking about Nottingham, and don't worry, this review is coming very soon. Today we're going to talk about the series that actually got me back into comic books, and that is Robin Hood. A story of a female Robin Hood who can kick butt, take names, but guess what? It's a great vigilante story. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Married with Comics. I'm your host, Laura. Now, as you know, we're getting closer and closer to our 1,000 subscriber giveaway, so please make sure to click that subscribe button. As our thank you, we have a copy of Spawn 9.4 CGC Slab along with a Married with Comics bookmark that we are giving away. All you have to do is subscribe to the channel and comment on videos. Now, before we even get into the book Robin Hood, I need to confess a little something. I am a huge Robin Hood fan. So that means that I have watched Robin Hood movies and TV series going all the way back to the Douglas Fairbanks black and white silent movie, all the way through Kevin Costner to a television series that is the epitome of what happens when you write yourself into a corner, all the great spin-offs, all the horrible spin-offs, and everything in between. I'm a little bit of a fan. So when Scott was telling me all about these Zenescope comic books, and I was not really reading comic books at the time. I tried and I found a horrible jumping in point and I gave up. And when I found a Zenescope booth, I was so excited to buy comic books for Scott. And then I saw this comic book sitting there and I knew it was coming home with me. It's a Robin Hood story. Of course it was. And it was a female Robin Hood. You know I read it that night. And it started my love of comic books ever since then. So why is this one so special? Now, I am going to spoil issue number 1. So if you don't want any spoilers, go down to the chapters, jump ahead in the video. So we start our story with Robin as a baby. And all we know is that she has been destined for either great things or horrible things. Her life is spared, and she is brought to our modern world. And sadly, she ends up in a pretty crummy situation. Her mother is suffering from a terminal illness, and her father is refusing to pay for the medication. So Robin takes it upon herself to start stealing and paying for the medicine. And when her father hears that this is what Robin's doing, and all the money is being wasted on her mother, and Robin stands up for herself against him, he kicks both of them out. Robin continues to support both of them by stealing. However, it's not enough to save her mother. So Robin now bounces from foster home to foster home, and instead of being a little wallflower and woe is me, Robin just becomes even stronger as a character and in her sense of self. She's not willing to take anyone's crap, and she also knows just how bad things can get. She's not about to let any of it hurt her. Sadly, she ends up in a high school in a town controlled by the King family. Now, Mr. King has the most successful business in the town. He certainly has the sheriff in his back pocket and has a lot of control and money. No one dares to cross him. And sadly, he has a son, Cal. And let's just say Cal is a jock, jerk, and a few other fun descriptive terms. Cal sets his eyes on Robin and tries to intimidate her. Robin, of course, isn't willing to hear any of that. She attacks, steals his keys, and steals the Bugatti. She knows she's going to get caught, and she doesn't care because she's sick and tired of putting up with anyone's crap. Cal takes off with his friends in pursuit, rams the Bugatti, and Robin is just bloody and completely disoriented from the car accident. However, Cal rips her out of the vehicle, and even with all the witnesses of people driving past and his friends watching, he rapes her, and he gouges out her eye as vengeance for daring to stand up to him. Robyn is arrested. The King family sues the foster parents and presses charges because of Robyn stealing the vehicle and demand recompense. And she is stuck in a jail cell knowing that no one in this town is going to help her. Before the issue ends, she's magically drawn into this world of mist. And mist is where we get into more of our formal Robin Hood story. And that's where we're in a different time period. However, we have magical things that can happen. When she gets to the world of mist, she finds out that there's a tyrant, Prince John, that has been working these people to the bone and has been oppressing the people of Bree. And there has been a prophecy that this child, Robyn, would someday come and liberate the people and help them rise up against the prince. Now, some of you would be like, this is great. Robyn is escaping this horrible world that she was in. Get her away from New York City and get her someplace where she can be safe and she can thrive. Sorry, people. That is not Robyn as a character. Robyn, on the other hand, is actually really upset that she cannot seek vengeance on Cal and make him pay for what he did to her. So instead, she strikes a bargain that says that she will help them rise up. In exchange, they must let her go back and get her revenge. Now, there's a moment at the end of volume number 1 where perhaps we think that this story has ended as we would expect. She gets her revenge, everything is sweet, and we carry on, and the people in Mist in the town of Bree have joined the revolution and they are set free and all is well, and suddenly we are living happily ever after. However, there is a twist at the end of volume number 1, which is why I got so hooked on comic books. They do something extra with that revenge story to take it beyond just a traditional Punisher moment and give us something more. And then, of course, they draw us into the rest of this trilogy, which is Robin Hood Wanted and Robin Hood Legend. And you see how this all kind of plays out. And yes, you do get to meet Much the Miller's Son and Friar Tuck and willscarlet and Littlejohn and Maid Marian. But then you see how all of this kind of plays out, not just in the world of Mist, but then in our modern day New York City. This was an incredible origin story. It's a fantastic Robin Hood story. And the thing that I think that they did the best, in my opinion, there's a Robin Hood television series that had good intentions. The problem is, eventually, you know, in a TV series or in a book series, that you do have to take down Prince John. You do have to have the king return. You do have to finish all those moments that we know, the archery contest. You got to get past it. And now you're left with the characters that you built and established, and what are you going to do next? And some writers really struggle with the what next question. What I love about this series is when they were presented with that question, they decided to have a bit of fun with it. And they took Robyn out of Mist, brought her back to New York City, but instead she is joined by Maid Marian. And so you have kind of that fish out of water, poor Marian who is now having to experience New York for the first time, which we all know is not exactly the easiest place to live. And then you still have Robyn, who has been through everything in this first trilogy. And now you see her kind of evolving as a character. And then you see this friendship building between the two of them and how they are using their skills to then make New York a better place. It gets really interesting, really funny. I love this series. I laughed so much over this series. And everything in the Robin Hood run, in my opinion, comes to a final, beautiful conclusion in Robin Hood, I Love New York. There are 12 issues within this volume, and originally you start reading the individual issues and it kind of reads like a one-shot. Case closed, carry on to the next one. And then you get closer to like issue number 6, and then you start seeing that there's a common thread through some of these. And as you start getting closer to issue number 8 or 9, suddenly you start seeing just a little bit more, and everything starts making sense. Everything starts tying together. All these characters that have kind of been reincorporated into the storyline, it all makes sense. And it's done so well, and it brings out all those different elements of the character of Robin Hood, but then you see the evolution of the character to this moment. Perfectly done. In my opinion, if you're going to read Robin Hood, stop reading at Robin Hood I Love New York. Sadly, that is not the end of the Robin Hood series, because it's still ongoing. The problem is Zenescope made a change after Robin Hood I Love New York. It is a legitimate concern. The way that Zenescope wrote most of their characters, there are multiple realms, there are multiple series within Zenescope, and what they started doing at the beginning to kind of encourage readers to jump storylines is they would take characters that were in Wonderland or Grimm Fairy Tales or Oz, and they would have them appear in other series. So for instance, if your favorite character is Robin Hood, you would then need to check out other series, like Van Helsing. And then you would have a couple other one-shots. You'd have some other different places that you'd need to then see these characters. And then you would also have some minor characters that maybe weren't as popular that would show up in the Robin Hood series, which would then make people more curious about them. And then they would start checking out those individual storylines. And eventually, you just started kind of having this interweaving of characters that would bounce from storylines. I didn't mind. And it did start exposing me to some really interesting characters and giving them a second look. However, they did notice that a lot of new readers for Zenescope titles didn't want to go back to the beginning. They wanted to be able to read a Robin Hood story and know what the heck was going on instead of having to constantly see these footnotes that say, see Grimm Fairy Tales, see Oz, see this. They just wanted to read a book. I get it. I totally get it. The problem is, when they wrote these books, this is Robin Hood, The Curse, Outlaw, and The Hunt. When they wrote these, because they are self-contained, they also disregard all the history that's in this huge pile of books that I've been describing to you all. All those relationships that have been built, all this character progression that's been happening for Robin Hood, even when we're just talking about that first trilogy, there's no mention of it. So in a lot of ways, I feel like you've just kind of crippled Robin Hood as a character. She's only partially in these stories. Sure, it's an action adventure. Sure, Maid Marian still makes an appearance. There's fun. It's enjoyable. But in my opinion, it's just fluff. Because when you finish these stories, you're going to forget about them. You won't think about it, and you really won't remember it, even on an artistic standpoint. Whereas I can guarantee you, you're going to read Volume 1 of Robin Hood, and you're going to remember it. There's a moment where Robin Hood goes to New York Comic Con. For pity's sake, it is hysterical. I will always remember that issue. So there are definitely reasons why I'm just not going to be a fan of the new stuff. Maybe eventually they will stop and they will go back to kind of the original. If not, you know what? I'm pretty content to just read these first 8 volumes and grab some of these if I find them on sale. I'll keep trying, but so far I have definitely not been satisfied. So need to know down in the comments, do you all have a favorite Robin Hood story, movie that you were a fan of? Or is there a different story maybe that you have watched way too many versions of, read too many varieties of comic books on the same kind of legend or storyline, but you don't care? You still love it, you still check it out, even if it ends up being pretty horrid. This is Laura from Married with Comics. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will talk to you all again very soon. Have a great day, everyone.